Hey everybody, Jeff Watson here, and it is a thrill to be here with you at NoteExpo 2020. Yes, we are all together. I'm not going to use that V word. There's a couple of words I don't use anymore in my vocabulary because I'm exhausted with them. The V word is one of them. A P word is one of them. And then that other word that I just think is nuts is unprecedented, folks. This has happened before. It's going to happen again. We just adapt. We improvise and we overcome. We adjust and we keep rolling forward. And what I'm going to be talking to you about today is the adjustments that you need to make in your note buying business going into 2021 as you exit from 2020 strong and hard and firm, on path, on target, on mission. One of the key things that I see, and this is where I'm going to tell you my passion, the passion I have and the problems I see. I get lots and lots of people contacting me about self-directed retirement accounts because there's a lot of money there and they want to do it with notes. And I'm great, fantastic. IRAs and notes, that's a marriage made. It's beautiful. It's wonderful if you do it the right way. The thing I keep seeing over and over and over again is the lack of due diligence. And I have had the chance to learn massive amounts of due diligence from a business colleague of mine she has just beat it into my head more and more. I thought I knew due diligence until I met her, and then I realized I don't know much, but I've learned a lot from her. So, hey, with this now, I'm going to jump into my slides, and I'm going to do my best to talk slowly and clearly to convey as much information as I can from a slide deck on due diligence. So hang with me as we go have some fun, learn, take notes, and remember, folks, due diligence is absolutely essential to doing a successful note transaction. Let's go. Hey, folks, like I said, here we go. We're going to dive into due diligence. And people are going to keep coming back and going, Jeff, why do you keep talking about due diligence? I keep talking about due diligence because I'm sick and tired of seeing deals go wrong because the due diligence wasn't done at the beginning. And so I spend time teaching due diligence and sharing it with you because I want to make sure that you don't make a mistake with doing a deal. So at the beginning, though, because I'm a licensed attorney, I've got to do this. This presentation is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to the subject matter being covered. It's provided with the understanding that the presenter, that would be me, folks, is not currently engaged in rendering legal, accounting, or other professional advice. If legal advice or other expert professional assistance is required, the services of a competent professional person should be sought. All right, so who am I? Well, I've been a member of the bar now for over 29 years, working on getting licensed in the state of Texas. I have been a real estate investor for over 28 years now. I am general counsel to some companies called RealFlow, National RIA, Note School, and National Wealth Builders. My law practice is focused on representing clients doing self-directed retirement account investing, and that means I see a lot of people doing note deals with their retirement accounts. And I think notes and self-directed retirement accounts are a beautiful match, and I love it. So let's get into some of the stuff that we've got to do in order to have a successful deal done with your self-directed retirement account and doing a note deal. But I ought to give you some perspective of where I come from. I've been privileged to change the law in the state of Ohio 5 times, 4 times through litigation, taking cases up through the Court of Appeals, one time all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court, one time to the Ohio Court of Claims. That's the highest court for actions against the state. One time we changed the law through amending the law for making it better for landlords under some housing discrimination issues. I'm an influencer. I've influenced national housing policy twice on distressed real estate transaction sales, the Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, GSE, FHA, VA, short sale deed restriction stuff. Was my work and getting it limited down to a reasonable time. I've been privileged to serve as a member of the board of directors of Quest Trust Company, coming up on the anniversary of that happening. Very, very significant event in my life, the opportunity to work with one of the preeminent self-directed custodians in America. And I also publish a newsletter and a blog, and I've got several thousand people that read my material on a regular basis. So I have been around a little bit. I get to do a little bit. Blind investing. Folks, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. And so I'm going to have to ask you, why have you not spent more time qualifying your deal partners than you do your tenants? And I ask that question in a provocative way because I'm just getting you to think. I watch too many people get all enamored by the potential rate of return that they forget to do the fundamentals. The shiny, illusory object, the mirage of a great deal, causes people to forget to do the due diligence, and that's a problem. A lot of people I talk to, you've been a landlord for a long time. You've got a process, you've got a system. At least I hope you do. You have a systematic way in which you screen your tenants, in the way you do your background checks. You need to have a systematic way so that you're doing it in a consistent manner. That's what equal housing opportunities are going to require you to do. You need to do the same thing when you're looking at an investment deal, whether buying a note, joint venturing with somebody else, lending money to somebody else, putting together a deal in any type of structure. You need to have a systematic process for doing your due diligence. So let's talk about some of the systematic things that you have to do. You have to do due diligence on the other investors or investors in the deal. You see, when it comes to doing a deal in the note space, when it comes to doing a deal with your self-directed retirement account, you have to have somebody else in the deal with you. You either have to have a colleague, a counterparty, somebody, and you need to do your due diligence on them. So I'm going to spend the next couple minutes as if somebody comes up to you and they've got this amazing note deal that they want you to help fund. And I want you to think about it from this perspective. You need to know some things. You've got to do this. Based upon your real estate experience, most of you know how to analyze a good house deal. Is that house going to make good sense as a rental property? But do you know how to evaluate a managing investor, someone who's asking you to put their money to work? Are you as diligent with them? Do you invest the same degree of energy? Do you have the same processes and procedures for evaluating a new potential managing investor relationship as you would with a new house deal? A lot of you are real estate investors that are moving into notes, and so you understand what I'm talking about. Some of you have not done many house deals, that's fine, but it still matters. You've got to have a systematic process of being diligent on doing your due diligence. Okay. My brain is trying to remember the citation of the book of Proverbs about saying, be diligent to know the condition of your flocks and herds, for riches endure not forever. You have to be diligent. Okay. Part of that diligence is you have to be willing to ask hard questions, not the softball cream puff questions that the fawning news media may ask of their favorite political candidate. No, folks, we're talking about your hard-earned money. We're talking about years, if not decades, of contributions to your IRA and your 401k. So we want you to ask the hard questions about it. Because candidly, if you're looking for a long-term funding relationship, you have to ask the hard questions. If you're looking for a one-time funding partner, one time over, hey, you're going to get what you're going to get, you know? And that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm looking for long-term funding relationships where I get to do deal after deal after deal after deal with the same people. And I got to tell you, yesterday I got a text message from one of my long-term funding people, and they said, hey, I got this much money in my self-directed retirement account at XYZ company. You got anything for me? Got a deal? Know of anything that I could go to work on? Those are the kind of text messages I look forward to getting. That's the kind of stuff I look forward to when somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, I got some money. What, you got anything we can go to work on? That's what I look forward to. Now, here's some of the hard questions that you're going to have to ask, okay? Do you have 2 years of business taxes available? The business tax returns available? I want to look at what you're telling the IRS about your business. If you want me to invest in your investing business, if you want me to put my money with you so that your business acumen can be used to try and grow the money, I want to see your tax returns. I also want to know what happens if I ran a credit, business, and criminal background check on you. If I hired my law firm to do a TLO on you, not just Google you, not just run you through Pacer, not just see what else might show up, but if I ran a really thorough background check on you through TLO, through LexisNexis, the whole bit, what would I find? What's the good? What's the bad? What's the ugly? And listen, complaints. No one's perfect. Believe me, I'm not perfect. I've got a couple of people. I've got one guy I'm going to deal with right now. He's a little mad and frustrated at me because of my lack of communication. So he's got a legitimate complaint that I haven't communicated with him as well as I should have. No one's perfect. So my complaint, I'm being candid with you, is I don't communicate as well as I should. Okay, I'm working on that. Next really hard question is, when can I see a copy of the proposed deal docs? Whether it's your joint venture agreement, folks, joint venture agreements that I've seen circulating around are terribly written. When can I see a copy of the transactional documents? When can I see a copy of the proposed asset purchase agreement? When can I see a copy of whatever we're looking to doing? I want to be able to read it carefully. I want to be able to ruminate on it. I want to be able to study it. I want to be able to really make sure I understand. And then, oh, by the way, I need to have a list of all of the other entities that you own or control. I need to know what states you're doing business, other states you're doing business in. I need to know a list. I'm going to go look on my own, and if I find stuff that you didn't tell me about, we might have a problem. So go ahead and tell me now, because I want to make sure, and listen to me carefully here, I want to make sure that the note deal that you're asking me to get into, this opportunity to buy this note at a great deal, isn't where we're buying it from one of your entities to another one of your entities, and you're using a smokescreen to try and cover up some mistake you made in the past. And yes, I've seen that done. I have seen that done. Investor had a bad deal owned by ABC LLC, and he decides to tout it to somebody else as a good deal and sell it to his other LLC in a different state called XYZ LLC, and he suckers in, and literally suckered in, an unknowing investor who has never seen her money back yet. Yeah, it happens. You don't want it to happen to you. So let's dig in a little bit deeper. Some things to do, okay? Some must-dos. We want to search the various Secretary of State's websites for other controlled entities. We want to search by names. We want to search by names of the principals. We want to search by names for enrolled agents. We want to search to see, or not enrolled agents, but statutory agents. We want to take and look, do you have a unique name? For example, Big Blue Gorilla. I remember one time seeing some entity that was Big Blue Gorilla, and I found out that it had multiple variations in multiple states, okay? We want to Google, at a minimum, Google the managing investor by name and all of their entities. We want to run them for news reports. We want to run them on all sorts of things. We want to see if there's anything in Pacer. We want to look to see if we've got the resources and we've got the relationships. We want to do a LexisNexis. We want to do a TLO. We want to know what's there. Oh, I'm going to ask what I'm going to find, and then I'm going to go double check to make sure you told me that what I found is really the truth. I want to make sure that you didn't just omit the ugliest of the ugly. Okay? Then I'm going to go do a search on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. I want to see if you're only bragging about your successes. Because if you're only bragging about your successes, then I have a problem. But if you're candid about your failures, that's good. Just had a client leave my office just a few minutes ago before I recorded this, and they recall hearing me talk about on one deal how I managed through skillful tactics to lose $120,000. Yeah, I've done deals where I've lost money, and I'll admit it. I'll own it, because you know what? I've learned more from losing than $120,000 than I learned on a deal where I made 10 or 15 grand. But if I'm only bragging about the stuff where I made a little bit of money, and I'm not acknowledging that I've made bad mistakes, I'm not being candid. I'm not being honest. I want to learn, I want to invest with people who've learned from their mistakes. I want to hear them describe how they turned the mistake from being as ugly and as bad as it could have been to being something a little bit better. What did you do to mitigate the problem? All right, let's keep digging into that. Remember, we're doing due diligence on the person who's asking you to get into a deal, on the person who's asking you to rely upon their experience, their knowledge, their connections, their relationships, and they're asking you to put their money to work with you. What is their reputation? Ask around. What's their reputation? This last year, 2020, man, there have been people who were flying high who now all of a sudden have gone quiet because they're not fulfilling their promises. You need to watch out for that. I mean, just it's going to get uglier with the shift that we're seeing in the market, in the economy. It's going to get uglier. People who were not doing business the right way are going to start showing up more and more. Now's the time to really be careful before you put anything back out there to work. Make sure you know the reputation of that person. Is that person that's asking to put money to work, are they a full-time investor? Do they actually do deals? Or are they marketeer of other person's deals? Are they merely daisy chaining something? Okay, so they're an investor. Great. How many deals have they completed? What have they actually accomplished? What are the details on those deals? Can they share the specifics with you? Where have they learned how to do their investing? How much of it is self-taught? How much have they learned somewhere else? What all have they done? And by the way, just out of curiosity, do they have counsel on board? Do they have an established relationship with a good law firm? Do they have an established relationship with a good tax preparation and accounting firm? Because folks, you need to make sure that they're knowing how to handle the numbers and the tax treatment. This is an area where I see a lot of investors get tripped up as they don't understand the tax treatment of note investing. They don't understand the tax treatment of doing IRA investing a certain way. You've got to understand when you might trigger UBIT with your IRA investment, when you might trigger unrelated debt finance income. You've got to understand how are losses and gains being allocated among the various people in the deal. You've got to know that stuff. They've got to have wise information on how that's being done. Moving ahead, we want to ask some questions, some references from both current and past funding investors. So if somebody came to me and said, Jeff, I'm looking to do a deal with you. I'm looking to do a deal. And I want to know, should I put money with you? Who can I talk to? I'd give them the names of some people. I'd give them the name of Glenn, who's not happy with me. I'd give them the name of Carol, who's just reached out to me the other day and wants to put money to work. I'd give them the name of Stephanie, who just checked the other day to see what we got anything cooking. I'd give them those names. I'd want them to hear the good and the bad. These are all people who've got either money with me now or money in the past. Okay? Then find out what's the longest funding partner relationship that you have had that you're able to verify independently. Just don't take their word. I'm just going to, because it's a common name, I'm just going to pick on it. I'm just going to say a hypothetical promoter, deal architect. We're just going to call him Big D. Okay? Big D. Don't take Big D's word that he's had a funding partner working with him on stuff for 11 years. Find out who that person is and verify it. Okay? Don't just take Big D's word that he's got these references. Contact the references. Ask the references. Would you reinvest with Big D? Did the deal perform like Big D thought it would perform? Ask that question and listen. And then ask, hey, can you provide me with any sort of reports or documents that were provided to me that I could use that were provided to you for your records and for your taxes and your lawyer? Can you provide me with a copy of that so I can see what it looked like, so I can see if it matches with what Big D's saying about the deal? I want to really drill down on this. Folks, some of you've got to understand you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your self-directed accounts, and it's there because you've spent decades making contributions. And that means you've got to spend time doing the preparation and the research and the due diligence on the people that are asking you to put their money to work with them. Now, is every deal going to go perfect? Absolutely not. But you want to keep the risks down. Okay? All right. Dig deeper. Just because you got some references, dig into the quality of the references. Are the references legit or are they plants? And you're like, Jeff, man, are you cynical? No, I'm not. I've seen it. I've seen it. Let me tell you a story. So I'm paying attention to some online training years ago on an information marketer. And he kind of let it slip that he hired an offshore VA firm to go create a couple of separate websites where people working for the VA firm could go in there and rave about how good his product is that he's selling. And I thought, oh, that's sleazy. And I'm like, man, if they'll do it for that, what else will they do? So yeah, so I want to know, is my reference a legit person? Is my reference a stand-up guy? Because if my reference is a stand-up guy or a stand-up lady, good, I believe them. But if I can't pin them down, if they tell me they've been investing in the, in the Coshocton, Ohio market for a decade, and I go start looking at the county records in Coshocton, Ohio, and I can't find out where the reference has done a deal, I'm going to start getting a little curious. I'm going to doubt the quality and the veracity of that reference. But if they tell me that they've been a buy and hold mom and pop landlord for a dozen years, and I go on the public record and I see that they've got 5 or 6 rental houses in the name of an LLC that they told me they've done deals with, great, I believe them. I'm looking forward to it. Check with local RIAs. Check with local RIAs. Check with real estate agents. Check with other people. Check to see if there's other stuff going on. Look for it. Always, always, always check. Ask, double check. Take a couple minutes and make sure that you understand what you're seeing online on the Secretary of State's sites as to what you're finding out about people. And you're like, Jeff, this sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, it is a lot of work because it's a lot of money you're being asked to invest. And you spent a long time working to save and accumulate that money. To me, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Like I've had to do this year, work with investors who invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in a deal where they didn't do their research on the investor, the person with whom they put the deal together with, only to find out that the money's gone and the person that they invested has disappeared. The person they've invested with has disappeared. That breaks my heart because I'm thinking about the couple of decades that they spent putting that money into their IRAs. All right, so let's talk about, now that we've talked about the investor, the person who's wanting to put the money into, now let's look at the deal that they want you to put money into. We're looking at not only the person, but we're also looking at the deal. And so we've got to walk through this. The deal. Let's take a look at what is the deal all about, because underneath it all, there better be some assets or some collateral. Oh, you want me to put together some money with you on a joint venture, and we're going to go buy this package of non-performing, defaulted second position notes. Okay. Well, I want to do some due diligence on the collateral that supposedly secures these second position notes. I want to take a look at the collateral. So that on the tape, I need to see the collateral. I want to drill down on the collateral. I want to look, okay. We're going to go buy this package of performing firsts. Okay, I still want to look at the collateral. And these are all the things I'm going to go back and look at for the collateral. I'm going to look at the valuation. What's the average home value? What's the average rent in that market? How much has the rent changed? I was doing some research last week on rent in a certain market in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I noticed that according to one of the major sites, the rent was down by 11% year over year. And I was like, that's odd. Wonder why that is. And then I realized it's a supply and demand area. Okay. So what percentage of that market is rented? Oh, somebody overbuilt. There's way too many multifamily structures there. That's why there's more supply than demand. Okay. So the percentage of the market that's rented is pretty high. The percentage of the market that's owner occupied is pretty low. I don't like that. What percentage is vacant? Folks, there's certain neighborhoods still here in Northeast Ohio where I live that a lot of the houses are still vacant. I don't want to invest in those neighborhoods. I want to pay attention to the demographics in the neighborhood. Are they blue collar, white collar? My favorite area to invest in is the blue collar neighborhoods. The people who get up and go to work. The people who make America run. The mechanics, the plumbers, the HVAC guys, the electricians, the truck drivers. That's where I like to invest. People who know what it's like to get up every morning, go to work. I also want to pay attention to the demographics. If I can find some census demographics that show me what percentage of the people in that area are married, because I know married couples are more stable than not. There's study after study that tells me that married couples generate more wealth and have more stability than people who live together. That's fine, but that's just, I want to know. I want to know what the average household income is in that neighborhood. I want to know, are people in that neighborhood living at their means, above their means, or below their means? I want to figure this stuff out. I want to know in the neighborhood, what's the crime rate all? And the first thing I want to pay attention to, and my business colleague taught me this, she beat this into my head, number of sex offenders, number of registered sex offenders, where are they, in what proximity? I remember there was a deal that we were looking at, and she was doing the due diligence on for a client of mine to invest money with a deal. My client lives in Texas. The deal was in Tennessee. The investor borrower was in Tennessee. We're looking at this great house deal in Tennessee. And everything about the deal made perfect sense, except for right next door to the subject asset lived a registered sex offender. And we're like, deal's off. No family's going to buy that house and move in. Deal's off. And then the borrower, the deal guy putting the deal together, he saw that. He comes back to me, oh, dude, I forgot to show you. Here's the purchase and sales agreement where I'm buying that house too. It was a mobile home. I'm buying the mobile home and the lot it sits on as part of this overall transaction. So guess who's going to have to move? I said, great. Problem solved. Deal looks good. Deal funded. Everybody made money. Okay. Rating in the schools. What's the best predictor of a neighborhood's ability to appreciate is the rating of the high school. Remember working with a couple of a father-daughter combination investing couple out of the Baltimore, Maryland area. They were looking at a deal in Ohio, and the deal was kind of confusing to me until the daughter explained to me. She said, Jeff, this deal looks weird until you understand the family that's selling the one house that we're buying, and they're buying another house that we own. They're moving so that their daughter, who is a star softball player, can go play on a better softball team so that she can get a better scholarship to go play softball in college. And it didn't take me long to go, oh, average cost of college tuition, $40,000 a year, times 4, $160,000. Now I know why this family's taking a $15,000 loss on a house so that their daughter can go play on a better softball team at a better high school to get better scholarship opportunities. Yes, all made sense. Why? Because that's the kind of drilling down that you'll do to see, does the deal really make sense? For example, another major industries. Huntsville, Alabama has been blowing up the last few years because all the major corporations and factories that are expanding in that area. Are there any new universities expanding in that area? Are there any new industries coming in? So it's no secret. Where NoteExpo has been held for the last few years physically, if you get on the freeway right there and you go north about 20 minutes, you're going to get into a town called Frisco, Texas. And that's the new home for the PGA. That is where North Texas State University is building a new campus. That is where Other big industries are coming into town. Does that drive the values of the collateral, the assets securing the notes that you're looking to buy? Yes. So the better the underlying collateral, the better the note deal, the better the investment being made by your self-directed IRA. If you understand these layers, the better you can do your asset analysis on the underlying assets securing the note for which your IRA money is going to be used to fund the purchase, the better the deal. Here's some big key questions. Can I explain the deal that I'm being asked to participate in 2 simple sentences so that an 8-year-old or an 8th grader, take your pick, can understand it? Is the idea commercially viable? Am I comfortable with the managing investor relationship? Ladies, I'm really talking to you now. If you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach that it's not a good deal, don't do the deal. That one deal I referenced earlier where I managed to lose $125,000 on a real estate deal. I remember having an uncomfortable feeling in the pit of my stomach with that deal. I should have listened to the pit of my stomach. And when somebody's asking you to invest in a deal, is there a clear explanation of not only how much money is needed, how it will be used, when it's projected to be back, and how it's projected to be used? Is that all there in a clear written explanation? If it isn't, you got a problem. If it isn't, you got a problem. Okay, so let's take a look a little bit more here. So you're being asked to put your money to work. Okay, you're being asked to put your money to work to buy a pool of performing notes. A mixture, it doesn't matter, okay? How well do you personally know the market where the collateral is? How are you going to evaluate the collateral values? What are you going to do to verify that? Are you going to rely on somebody else in telling you what the BPOs say? Are you going to do your own? Are you going to pull your own? Are you going to hire somebody else to go do a BPO on some of the assets in order to see if they're being matched with what you're being told is the pool says it's worth? Is the person who's asking you to put the money into the deal, are they a major participant in the deal? Do they have the legal right to actually buy the deal or sell the deal? Are they really involved? See, this is where I've seen deals go sideways because someone was brokering a note deal and they really didn't have the right to sell it, and they took the money and then they couldn't perform. I've watched those deals go sideways. They're ugly. How is your interest going to be secured? Okay. That is something you want to pay attention to. Who is going to be the owner of record on the county records? This is huge. Okay. If you're buying a pool of notes, great. Then the deeds of trust and the mortgages, how are they going to, to whom are they going to be assigned? To whom are they going to be assigned? When is that being done? Who is handling that? When can we verify that that's been done? If you're being asked to invest in a pool of notes, okay, who's servicing the pool? Will you as an investor have access to this reporting by the servicer to verify the payment histories, to verify collections, to see how things are going? Will you have that access? Do you understand the market where the collateral is that's securing the note? Is the note deal looking good? Does the person who's offering to sell the notes really have the right to sell the notes? Where is the documentation going to be recorded showing who owns the deeds of trust and the mortgages that are securing the notes, trying the collateral to the note? Who's going to be on record? When's it going to happen? Who's going to be able to allow me to see what's happening with the payment history, the servicer reporting, and so on, so that I can track to make sure that forced place insurance is put in when it needs to be done, so that I can track and make sure that if foreclosures have to happen, that they're happening. Who's doing all that? Okay. So I'm going to drill down on the collateral just a little bit more, because every note deal is really, to me, is all a function of the collateral. Get a description of the collateral, all of it. Where's it located? What's the history of the collateral? I've seen deals where the collateral has been turned too many times and just the churn makes me not want the deal. Okay? The churn says, no, I don't want the deal. So something else that you want to look at. Always ask this question. If I'm being asked to lend money I want to make sure I've got a lender's policy. If I'm being asked to go buy a note, I want to see the O&E on that property and that collateral. I want to see the O&E. I want to make sure. If I'm being asked to lend money, I want to make sure that there's hazard insurance securing all the collateral. If there isn't, I want force-placed insurance to be put in there. And you want to make sure that your Roth account, your IRA, whatever your source of funds is listed as a loss payee on any insurance policies. So if the place burns down, so if there's a tornado, so if there's an electrical loss, electrical fire, I want to make sure that I'm getting paid. I want to make sure that my source of funds is going to get paid back. Because folks, a goal without a plan is just a wish, and wishing will not make you wealthy. Planning and working the plan will make you wealthy. Planning and working the plan and being diligent about the plan and doing your due diligence will make you successful. Due diligence is a fundamental requirement. It is a fundamental, essential requirement. Whether you're using a Roth IRA, Roth 401k, traditional, doesn't matter. I want you to use due diligence, and you've got to use a lot of it. And somebody's going to say to me, oh, but Jeff, because it's an IRA, what am I allowed to do or not do? Oh, great question. Your IRA can invest in stock, right? So that means you can learn everything you want to learn about a particular company. Now, your IRA can invest in a mutual fund, can it? So your IRA can look at a prospectus of the mutual funds and see what all the stocks and bonds that mutual funds owns. That IRA, you can drill down and to find out the history of the CEOs of some of the companies. You can do all that stuff. You can do the exact same thing here. You can do the exact same thing here. You need to drill down. You need to really know what's going on. Now, do I want you to get wrapped around the axle and that you're verifying the reference made by the reference of the reference? No. There's at some point in time where you're going to have to realize it's either a good deal or it's not. Okay? So I'm going to just do this last thing because I want to put this, because not everybody does the same kind of deals. Some of you fund deals where you've got people who are borrowing money from you. They're going to give you a note and they're going to go buy a house, fix it up, and resell it. Okay? In that case, never, 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 ever write the check directly to the borrower or the offerer. I would suggest that if you're funding even on a joint venture agreement, that you make sure that there is a escrow being held by an attorney or a title company or something else to make sure that everything comes back together. I'm seeing a trend towards doing this. There's some companies out there that are starting to do this. I think it's a fantastic idea that you can really get a chance to do your due diligence once you put your money in escrow. You can look through the collateral, you can read the note, you can look at the mortgage, you can look at all that stuff. And if it's a good deal, then you can go ahead and close, give the escrow agent instruction to do it. So I like you doing it that way. But always, folks, whenever you're putting money to work, ask yourself what kind of insurance you can get. Can you get title insurance? Can you make sure that all the collateral securing the notes has got correct insurance covering back the entity that your money's into? Okay? If you're lending money to a rehabber, always make sure you get title insurance. Make sure you use a closing protection letter. Make sure that you have a lender's policy. That's the title insurance. Make sure you review the title policy. Make sure you look at the title commitment. Always make sure that your funds are distributed in accordance with written instructions that you have. I realize this a lot of times you're trading money on friendships and relationships, but I've seen friendships and relationships go sideways. I've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars disappear when it shouldn't have. It's an ugly, ugly world at times, and you want to protect your money. So I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to me. You can see a little bit of my contact information on the screen. The best way to track me down is at my blog, www.watsoninvested.com, www.watsoninvested.com. If you call the office at that phone number, the odds of talking to me are slim to none because I'm not often there. And when I am, I'm booked. I've got appointments. So going through the blog or going through email is going to be the best way. Eventually, we'll get back to you. Hey, with all of that, thank you so very much. I appreciate your time, your attention, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Peace. I'm out.